Willkommen in Berlin.
Bienvenue à Berlin.
It's Berlin Fashion Week.
We're discovering Berlin Fashion Week.
Are you excited?
Yes, I am.
We're going to see some exciting first fashion shows.
Willkommen in Berlin.
Ah, c'est déjà ça commence les questions?
And also the geniuses behind GmbH. Here you say GmbH.
Welcome to Berlin.
Thank you.
We check the diversity of points of views and identities, which makes the Berlin Fashion Week unique and relevant. We're meeting the designers with new visions. With Coucou Natacha, Clément and Albert, I'm running around Berlin, and yes, we had Berghain, the Halle am Berghain, not the club, which we respect too much to film.
Nicht lachen.
We enjoy the fashion shows of Aderlump Atelier Berlin, Palm Wine Ice Cream by Kuzi Kubi, Kasia Koraska, Marie Lueder, Andrej Gonau, OBS by the Schweitzer Brothers, SF1 OG, Audi, William Fan, Mario Keine, Lou de Betoli, Laura Gerte, Richard Bale, and it's only a little percentage of the actual super exciting scene.
Have a great show, guys. Have a great show, everyone.
Berlin Fashion Week lasts 4 days. The shows start on time. Barely 15 minutes of setup, not even any waiting. Backstage is crammed with people, but that's a good sign.
It's an empire.
Hopefully one day.
And at the end of the shows, here, the audience applauds very loudly, the room warmly congratulating the creations.
Welcome to Berlin.
How are you enjoying Berlin Fashion Week?
Oh gosh, the best thing about it is I spend time with you.
You're thinking the trend in Berlin is all black, and indeed there's a lot of black. Black, 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 black. The non-color preferred by the creative elites of Berlin, inherited from the techno scene, is still very present. But there are some colors. Concrete grey and red, of course. Kasia Koraska loves colors.
Black is a very Berlin color, but we're working very much against it.
Do you?
Yes, absolutely.
How did you work the color palette of the collection?
It's a lot of poppy colors, simply, like joyful colors, pink, yellow, blue, and all on the bright side of the color palette. And then, to tone it down a little bit, we have colors like black and gray to, make it a bit more real, bring it back into reality.
At Palm Wine Ice Cream by Kuzi Kubi, the reds are here to flatter the bodies and the eye.
I wanted to bring color to Berlin. I wanted to bring some heat to Berlin. Everything is hand-dyed. It's all like leather, so everything's hand-dyed. And I wanted it to be quite bright, and we polished them to kind of obtain that color. There's a whole lot of process that goes through it.
At the sophisticated William Fan by William Fan, they are the colors of fine Chinese porcelain.
The colors really remind me of my mom, like how I grew up, like 80s images from Hong Kong, like pastel colors. It also really reminds me on porcelain, like Chinese porcelain. It's very rich and it has a lot of contrast.
At Ode, black blends with skin color. The color are inspired by the Austrian Art Deco collective of early 20th century, Wiener Werkstätte.
Werkstätte? I don't know how to say it.
What? Werkstätte, Wiener Werkstätte.
Impossible à dire. Impossible to
How do
say.
you say it in French?
You say
it. When you leave the room, you know it.
Wiener Werkstätte?
Perfect.
Wiener Werkstätte?
You know how long we tried to say Loic in a correct way? So this is your challenge now.
Merci.
The designers in Berlin are conscious of the world. Every time their first sentence is about politics. Context matters.
How do you feel creating in those days?
Difficult, yeah.
Yes.
It's frustrating because I'm every day like 12 to 14 hours in the studio and I blame out completely everything, and then you came at home or in the morning at coffee and then you watch news and you're like, what's going on there? So it feels really weird, and you shame sometimes yourself that you not know everything anymore, but I really want that changed, and it's really important.
At Marie Lueder, the slogan is sober and has already annoyed the incels.
I don't like the political situation in a lot of countries. I thought the most horror is men are so back. I'm gonna have a conversation with my dad about this, I'm sure.
Laura Gerte, for example, seemed to hesitate between her sewing machine and painting slogans and placards.
I was reading Donna Haraway's Cyborg Manifesto and watched Ghost in the Shell, the anime from the 90s, and both reflects on the relationship between humans and machines. And I think it's something that we're all facing currently, like with our screen times, or also like how and if we can use platforms from corporations that don't align with our values, especially now, like in the past weeks.
All evoke the increasingly oppressive threat, the new rise of the extreme right around the world, the black monster that rears its ugly head.
A lot of twisted suitings, like twisted corporate ideals, kind of that situation. You can really play with this, like you can hide yourself, or you can expose yourself, you can fold it over and let the different like textures interplay with each other. It's like the bridge between the bombers and the suiting.
At GmbH, the slogan is clear.
What does it mean?
Well, I think it's open for interpretation. Refuse to trade with the enemy. Another kind of important statement for the collection, the most dangerous anger is built in someone who has a good heart.
And those two zips in the back of that coat, like two disappeared angel wings. Les ailes du désir de Wim Wenders sont coupées. GmbH demonstrates an elegance and rigor and attitude and sex appeal that are absolutely Berlin. Extremely pure. The duo brings back its menswear opera coat, which became a cult classic at the time of their show during COVID, a video that had a phenomenal impact.
Tell me about this. How did you achieve this?
Months of development and construction, and it's just a lot of trial and error, basically. I don't think you've ever seen this from the inside, but you don't have a waist that would, or a bust that would hold up a coat otherwise that's off the shoulder, so it has like massive construction on the inside that is like built in with, you know, proper boning and structure that keeps this up. So the whole coat is in itself actually quite elaborate on the finishings on the inside. It was not easy, but it was the most fun we had, I think, developing something.
The GmbH man is eminently sovereign, political, without aggression, ultimate elegance of the choreographer of the show, MJ Harper.
Carrying ourselves through grace, through uncertainty, and really delivering like a confident clarity, just piercing through all of the heaviness that we're all having to deal with right now.
Honestly, it's been so intense the last year or so particularly, and I think for this collection we also went inwards with ourselves and just like looked at GmbH and tried to, between us, find our center also in our work and not be too influenced by everything outside, all the hostility, all the noise, everyone's opinions.
I saw the power to continue, the power to create, just the energy to state your point of view in a very, very beautiful way.
I relate them to really the city that they're in, Berlin. You know, this is where I met them in Berlin. And I think it's an honest, hard edge, you know, which kind of started in club culture. But then there's like a real elegance to it, you know? And that's the crossover. That's what I love about what they do. They own that space, I think.
The collections in Berlin talk about the world, but start from the family cocoon. Inspiration will always be your family.
We made like a fanzine for the show, and in it we have a picture of Serhat's dad.
Yeah, we did study a lot, you know, the journey of our grandfathers and fathers coming to Germany or Norway. This is my dad. He grew up on a farm in Turkey. That's my grandfather when he came in the 60s. This is my grandfather when he first came to Germany and then, you know, assumed his position in the mines. This is how we would come home sometimes and like sneeze into like a white tissue paper and we would laugh, but it did cost my grandfather his life, you know. We do look back a lot on our fathers and grandparents' wardrobes and how they dressed.
So sweet.
Yeah. The collection lives through this album, more or less, and through our lens as well. I mean, what they've experienced when they've come here and how that still continues with our generation. And particularly considering how volatile and serious the times are we live in right now, right?
It's important for us to show the sort of the pride in dressing up that our immigrant parents came with, particularly now when like immigrants are being kind of scapegoats. world is so hostile towards all kinds of immigration.
And at some point, I pop up here as
Oh,
well.
really?
Yes, that's what That's what I want to show you. And then we can end on this.
You haven't changed.
Well, the hair color maybe. Yeah.
Like a fashion festival, on the same day, in the same building, you get Kasia Kuraska, Marie Lueder, Andrej Gonau, and GmbH, along with Levi's and UGG activations. The whole thing organized by the fashion wizards of Référence Studio.
The mission is to put designers from Berlin or designers that have a strong connection to the city of Berlin on the international radar, basically to elevate Berlin Fashion Week and make it grow.
The baseline is the unique, authentic, creative excellence. They all bring that to the table.
Berlin is full of the joy of creative anguish that wins over when you do your first ever fashion show like Andrej Gonau.
It's your first show, right?
It's my first show, yeah. For this collection, I was inspired by object art and čašky. It's a Slavic word for things that are random and don't have like a monetary value, but it can be anything like kitschy decor, like a carpet at your grandma's home, tapestry. So we were looking at all those little things we collect in domestic spaces, and that was like the key inspiration for this collection. That's why we have the bows, the patterns of like star cutouts, maybe from something you put on for Christmas, but then you leave it the whole year around. So we were trying to look at things that you surround yourself and that make you happy.
I love it, absolutely. Pink from my head to my feet. Full pink, we love.
Everywhere these clothes are textured. Kasia Kuraska starts from latex doodles, the most astonishingly efficient DNA of a brand since a while.
This is really applied with whatever you have in your hands, basically. It can be a spoon, it can be, whatever, and then you put the liquid material on top of the fabric.
Makes me think of a cake, icing of a cake almost.
Exactly. Like the tools that we're using are actually from that world. Yes.
The abstract motif is found everywhere on her creations. Irrational and modular perfection. It can even be transformed into a bag.
It looks fragile, the bag. I love that.
It looks fragile, but it's not. It's super durable. You cannot break it. There's no way.
Bion, 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 bion.
Never too much texture for Ode.
Even when it's flat, it seems textured.
Yes, it is. We love structures. This is pretty. Oh, we love that. This is the recycled polyester.
Super good for the cocktail dress, right?
Yeah.
And even more so for Lou de Bétoli, the revelation of this Berlin Fashion Week.
Comment vous avez travaillé sur cette collection?
J'ai une manière très intuitive de travailler, un peu en mode écriture automatique presque. De la maille, avec du crochet, rebrodé, recoupé. Et là, ah ouais, c'est bien. Il y a de l'opulence, mais contenue.
The French woman based in Berlin manipulates the materials to make them into second skins, third skins that flatter and rave on the bodies of her models.
Étant donné que je travaille autant de texture et qu'il y a beaucoup de transparence, il y a aussi on voit beaucoup le corps, il y a une revendication du corps, ouais. On a vraiment la chance d'avoir le soutien du Berlin Senat et du coup ça permet de financer le défilé.
Marie Lueder, aware of the current horror film, slips in marvelously frightening creatures.
I love the fool, the jester, the joker. Always bring it back somehow. A mix of the past and the future.
Her hoodie is inspired by armor. A fashion show inhabited by joyful goblins who drink oat milk and walk like hooligans to ward off the gloomy beings.
There's always elements of medieval references in there because I used to be, as a child, in this medieval LARPing camp and reenact the time from that time. And I like to disappear into this world through clothes. So I tried to make a cap, which is like sportswear. So it's like elf, yeah, like that, funny. But you can also press it down. And it nearly looks a bit like French Revolution caps. What's it called?
Bonnet Phrygien.
Bonnet Phrygien, yeah.
I love a revolutionary hat. What do you like about showing in Berlin?
Everyone loves coming here. It gives a lot of space to be you somehow, and the fashion council is super supportive and great. So many creative people here. I mean, I didn't live in Berlin because I was worried that I would party too much, so I never moved here. But instead moved to London for that reason, but came a lot of times. And then I can leave on my hangover and it's fine.
Or we parade in a concrete womb like Richard Bale, and the entire collection is called Mutter, la maman, la mère, the mother, and talks about giving birth, about fertility, about nurturing and the panic of the first baby when everything is as magical as it is scary. We talked to its founders, Jay Richard and Michelle Bale.
We are at Fichte Bunker, basically abandoned bunker. It was a place for mothers and their children where they could stay safely.
Why did you choose this place?
Because our collection is called Mutter. When you're basically super stressed out, but you have to be responsible. We kind of use it as a metaphor for like how people feel today.
The other Berlin ambition is to party, and the emerging brand SF1OG by Raza Margadal is showing at Halle am Berghain.
Do you come often to the Berghain Club?
Actually, I have never been to the Berghain Club, even though I lived here for almost 10 years. But yeah.
It's a decision.
Yes, it's a decision. I remember I said once that I will have my first time coming for a business thing. So it is now.
Bravo. We recognize silhouettes of non-stop hardcore partygoers from 2008-2010, almost the fluo kids with bangs.
That's a very specific reference to the indie electronica vibe or group that we have. It's like the shutter shades that were really iconic to my youth, for sure. Not only in a good way, but also in like a crazy way, maybe. So we really tried to like bring them back in like a really hot way and like give them like this edge and character that we would even wear, even though back in the day I would have never worn them ever, you know?
In Berlin, it's all about upcycling.
This is like a deadstock alpaca wool that we use. Like we always work with deadstock materials, with sustainably sourced new ones, and also with historical. So this is our 3 categories. Like we always have 3s in everything.
Why is it important for you to use the deadstock fabric?
I think it's a bit because of the way that I grew up or started creating things in general, because every Friday with my dad I was like going to his little studio and we used like leftover wood or like whatever we had, like we even had like sheepskin that we were sleeping on as babies, and then we were crafting items out of it. So this like way of working to look at what's there and what surrounds you, taking those things and then being like inspired by what is there.
At Palm Wine Ice Cream, the leathers are upcycled.
We dye them and we polish them, and then we kind of choose the colors to mix them and we create that pattern. So everything is all like, everything's leather.
So it's like a puzzle.
Right. Yeah, but that's the interesting thing about the brand.
It's obvious, c'est l'évidence. Another remarkable first show, OBS, with models handling jackhammers. And they are real jackhammers, Johannes and Matthias Schweitzer are the two brothers of OBS. Their mother is a seamstress, their father is a carpenter. Between form and function, they don't have to choose.
It's three of us. We have another older brother, and we are super used to family-run businesses. All our family is self-employed. We grew up in this field. We grew up in working all together. Our father helps us. Our mom is our head of atelier. She made all the collection with us together. So we always did stuff together.
Yeah.
So it was loud. It was loud, and it was a crucial part of the show.
What's the intention? You want to overwhelm the guests?
More like the contrast that we live in, because we come from a small city, and there's more like these bird noises, and the quietness, and all the time we are in big cities, you get noises like this.
Difficult to do an interview with so many trains.
He had like a lot of trust in us, and then
So many trains.
Another first show, Marke. Marke is Mario Keine. He warned us he makes sentences as long as scarves. But his collection is brief. 16 silhouettes and that's it. That's enough to understand the intention and to want to see more.
I'm fascinated by historic clothing, historic buildings. I have a fascination, for instance, also for like abandoned places, urban exploration, and going into abandoned buildings, because I love this eerie, melancholic mystery that you have in rooms where you feel like the walls tell you that there was once life in it.
There were some impressive happenings with the shoes of the season. Big yellow pose at the House of Svezen by Sve Beckedorf. Sorry if I'm not saying this right. Fashion shows in hotels. A fashion presentation of 51 emerging designers in the midst of the Rubens and Rembrandts of the sublime Gemäldegalerie Galerie. A constructive official speech from Christian Arp, the co-founder and president of the German Fashion Council.
The question is often asked, are fashion weeks still contemporary and relevant? Yes. I say yes, absolutely.
Berlin is pampering its fashion week.
Why is Berlin the right city for you?
I am very focused on what is going on here, and it's a very creative city. That's what I also like about it.
Since the Fashion Council Germany took over the organization of everything, we suddenly noticed a complete shift in motivation around it, and I noticed that was something in the air. All the brands I'm friends with, we're absolutely supportive of each other. We can't manage to make this the industry more sustainable by working with our elbows.
Berlin has so much potential because you have so many venues. You have so much art here, and the fashion scene was in the past really, really small. It's still small, but it's growing. So many interested characters are here.
I think it's been super exciting to watch like the trajectory of the past 2 years, because there's so many amazing emerging designers coming out of it, and it's so nice that there's this support from the government also. Very happy I can be a part of this now and hopefully add something.
The Ode Boys have been there since the beginning.
It's great. It's finding its own identity more and more, which we like.
The shows get better and more dramatic.
I wish it was 2 hours long.
Yeah, me too. Thank you so much for coming. It meant a lot to me.
Merci beaucoup.
Merci beaucoup.
There you have it, our report from Berlin Fashion Week, Autumn-Winter 2025-26, filmed on-site in February 2025. Go to fashionmoodboard.com to read the full interviews with several designers and Christian Arp. Subscribe to the channel to see everything fashion. Abonnez-vous à la chaîne pour tout voir de la mode.
Thank you, Rami.
Have fun in Berghain. Thank you. It was a pleasure.
This video was made possible by the support of the Berlin Fashion Week and the Fashion Council Germany. Write Danke in the comments if you got till the end. Bisous.